We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item will be a roll call.
Mr. Brown? Here. Mr. Buckley? Absent. Mr. Fritz?
Present.
Mr. Kirby?
Here.
Mr. Meehan?
Here.
And Mr. Knapp?
Here.
And a motion to approve the agenda, and there has been one request to move the CARES Act fund disbursement to after closed session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Everyone has a copy of the minutes, and it's been mentioned that Mr. Fritz was present last meeting. So if there are no other additions or corrections, they'll stand approved as presented.
So moved.
Is there any public comments sent in? Officers report, CFO report.
My report starts on page 3. Bank balances as of last Thursday. Net cash reserve chart's the same one you saw at the beginning of the month. Page 4 is the cash reserve analysis. As always, at the end of the month, we're down a little bit, about 2 weeks. So anybody have any questions on any of those? 5 and 6 are the check register for the last 2 weeks. Anybody have any questions on any of those transactions? Okay, if not, then all we have left is the bills. Anybody have any question on any of the bills?
Yes.
Are you on page 8, Mr. Newbern?
Yeah, the summary is on page 7 and the details are on 8 and 9.
Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit about the computer replacement?
So that was part of our budget last year. It was budgeted to replace, Ryan, do you remember how many? It said admin computer replacement.
3. It was budgeted for 3.
So for mine, currently I had been using a laptop when I was working from home, and that laptop was out of date. I think it was Windows 7, and it was causing some issues because it was out of date. And then my computer, I don't know how old that one is, at the office. And then I also had an iPad. So we replaced it with one device that replaces all of those items. So, and then the iPad will be used on the trucks. Any other questions? No, that is all I have tonight.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Jamie? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Chief's report.
All right. Ryan, do you mind if I refer this generator update to you?
Sure.
Okay,
You're right, that's the end of it.
sure.
All we know right now is the line has been ran to the generator, and the plumbing company is working with Liberty in order to schedule the upgrade of the radiator at Liberty Buffets. So we're still in the process on it. So we're just waiting for everybody to work together and get it finished up.
So when do they expect to have that running?
I have no idea. It depends on how long it
That's
takes
been
them to
months.
We're finally to the point where they are working directly with Liberty, so I don't think it's gonna be much longer. I'm hopeful.
Being on schedule.
Yeah. Myers didn't indicate they had any trouble finding the valves or anything like that, so really that arrest, and that was a holdup all along, so it should go pretty smoothly at this point, as long as Liberty's schedule permits, so. Okay, education, our EMT National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians testing. I want to congratulate Justin Cross on his fine work throughout the program. 10 out of 10 candidates tested their psychomotor test last week. They go in and do a certain amount of skills tests and a certain amount of assessments in front of evaluators. And 10 of them went up to test and 10 of them passed. So that's absolutely awesome.
What do you start with on that, Chief? Do you remember?
Start with, that's just how many have tested so far. I believe he ended up with 13. The MU mobile sim lab that we were going to have back on the 17th had to be canceled, as well as just about everything under the sun right now. So no big surprises there. But it's a mobile sim lab, so it's kind of a confined space. So I certainly understand why they're doing that, and we'll schedule that again whenever this whole thing permits. Operations and supplies, our PPE update. I wanted to publicly thank Tricia Ruga, she's our EMA director in Pettis County. She's done a great job throughout this whole thing. I don't think I've ever mentioned her in here, but she really fields a lot of our concerns and requests and any kind of issues, which as we all know, there's been quite a few issues with knockoff counterfeit items and just availability. And she's really done a lot of juggling for not only us, but all of the other emergency services in the county. So Trish has been a tremendous help to that. She, in fact, got us a nice mess of N95s last week. Gloves are becoming an issue. One of the largest glove manufacturers in the world actually shut down production this week over in Malaysia, where most gloves are made in Malaysia, due to labor issues, mostly regarding the virus and pandemic. So they actually shut that plant down. We were already on a point where some of our vendors were allocating. We would order 2 cases, which is 10 boxes, and we'd get 2 boxes, which we go through in a day easily. So luckily, like I said earlier in the year, our supply officer, Sharice Bauer, we've been working very closely with our vendors and building up enough backstock that we're doing okay. But it's, we're spending out of our cash that we really didn't want to have to dig into. So hopefully we'll remain okay on that. But again, I'm working closely with Tricia, and she's so far been able to give me pretty much everything I've asked for. So I want to thank her tonight for that. That's kind of where we're at on PPE. State EMA, of course, is involved in this. That's where we will go up to Kansas City and pick them up from a firehouse or whoever's doling them out up there. I went up last week and grabbed some stuff for ourselves as well. And that was 8 boxes of gowns, some other non-medical use masks, which are not the greatest, but they can be used once we've used up, if we get to the point where we go through all of our medical certified masks. So we do have those on hand should we need them. Hopefully we don't, but better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. For as far as COVID in our county, I don't know how many people get those nixles, or if you read much through the nixle reports, but I wanted to give you guys some information. Right now, as it stands, we run 50 to 70 calls in a 2-day shift. So figure about 30 calls a day. You can knock a third of those off for no transports, so about 20 transports a day. Out of that 20, 1/4 of those are COVID patients. So 1 out of 4 transports right now for Pettis County Ambulance District are COVID positive patients, and a great deal of those are calling directly related to the COVID illness they have. Of those positive patients, the vast majority of them already tested positive, and the remaining 21%, generally Bothwell or whatever hospital we took them to will call us and tell us, yes, we got the test results and they're positive. Very rarely comes back the other way around. So pretty much all positive out of that 1 in 4. 6% of that 1 in 4 have been critical patients. Now this was as of the 18th when I ran these numbers just for the first 18 days in November. I already had 2 cardiac arrests, and 39% of those were high acuity, which basically means you're not unstable, but you're very close to being unstable or potentially unstable, what we would call yellow and the triage work, where a green would be a walking wounded from a car wreck with a splinter, and a red would be an unconscious person or in cardiac arrest or something like that. So pretty fair amount of them are moderate to high acuity patients. Let's see, where does that leave me? Vehicles, an update on the Unit 9. That's the deer strike that we had with one of the transits out of the Windsor base. Happened down by just east, northwest, over by Garden City, northwest of Clinton. So we did have to have it towed back to there. We'll be getting it over to Randall's to be repaired. The appraisal came in. The initial estimate was just over 12,000, and the appraisal was just under that. So they'll be working off that secondary appraisal from Mike Keith, and we'll be sending it over to Randall's to get fixed. They did not think it was nearly extensive enough to total. So we've taken pretty much all the equipment we can off of it, and it'll be going over there directly. Actually, I believe they might have gotten out this afternoon. We called them today to come get it. So that is actually all I have on my report for this. Are there any questions?
I got a question. How long is that gonna be down?
The ambulance, crashed ambulance, Randall's been doing pretty good about getting us. I don't anticipate it being there more than probably 3 weeks. You know, that's average time that we've had on deer strikes. We have a little longer with one of the Osage ambulances, and I don't think that was related to the person that was the company that was doing it. But I'd say 2 to 3
out
weeks.
of it was what? Why did we take things out of it?
Some of the medical equipment.
Oh,
No.
I mean, like,
The medical equipment we have in there, some of it, such as Todd's cot that comes in there, the power load systems, if they sit anywhere and aren't charged for some time, some of the batteries will go beneath a repairable level, and we end up having to replace them. So we pull all that stuff off. Since we can't guarantee the weather and it's getting to be that time of the year, we pull all the medications and fluids off so we don't have to, throw anything away when it comes back. But primarily it's the expensive equipment and or pharmaceuticals that come off of there. So, and we'll go ahead and take the the ventilator, the cardiac monitor, any of the high dollar items that aren't nailed down with the truck come off. But that's a 10-minute operation. We can throw all that stuff in. Yep.
Just to make sure I understand here, Chief, it's gonna cost us $11,631 to get it repaired, is that
Yes, sir.
right?
That's
And then how much of the insurance will pay for how much of that?
The deductible, I believe, is $1,000, but Jamie might be able to. Am I right on that, Jamie? Are you still there?
You're correct. It's $1,000.
Yes.
As the board's permission, since I'm secretary, I'd like to send a letter to the young lady that you talked about that's been helping with the PPE stuff on our behalf.
Yeah.
So if you could send me her name and address, and
Absolutely.
I'll address a little letter to her and thank her.
I'm sure she'd appreciate that. Yeah, she's also been spending a great deal of her time helping out with other things that may not necessarily fall in her wheelhouse. Just she's been a big help to the community. Yeah, I'm sure she'll enjoy it.
Since the CARES Act funding got moved down the agenda, do you want to have him do his demonstration now so he wouldn't have to wait around?
Is that okay with you?
Just whatever you guys want.
I don't know if everybody got that information. Since we're in open session, I'll say, Todd Tibbetts has been our striker rep. Pretty well, he's been our striker rep since I.
8 wonderful years.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a while. There's a couple, Stryker merged with Physio Control, who also makes our monitors. So Todd was kind of juggling both of those items, as well as the Lucas device. The Lucas device was on the list that we provided to the board. And Todd came here tonight in hopes of telling the board some information about that.
Yeah, just so you guys can know what it is and what it does. I brought a unit down here. Lucas is a CPR machine. Has anyone in here done CPR before? Nice. Do you know what 5 things you have to do to perform high quality CPR? You need rate, depth, full chest recoil, 50-50 duty cycle,
and minimize time off the chest. And what the protocols are now in Pettis County, I mean, I have a list of 130 users just in Missouri who currently use mechanical CPR, the Lucas device. And since the pandemic hit, that is only, like, I've been trying to get it in here for years because I see the benefits of it, but Eric is tight with his budget. But now that the pandemic's hit, it's become even more important because what folks are doing to perform CPR is called pit crew CPR, and I think the fire department helps with that. Sometimes.
Sometimes, as long as it's not.
So to hit those 5 things, perform high quality CPR, you can only do it for 2 minutes. It's really hard to do good CPR. The right rate, depth, for 2 minutes, people wear out, so you need to switch. And in the pandemic, the DOD has, part of the defense, has said chest compressions during CPR is aerosol generated. So everyone who gets over that patient to do CPR is potentially infected, and this device will reduce the spread of the virus and keep people safe. It's super easy to deploy. When you talk about time off the chest, it takes about 7 seconds to put it on and get it going. And what it looks like when it's going, you set the suction cup to the height, and then you can either do continuous, and that is perfect, rate and depth. This thing can go on one battery 45 minutes. While you're in transport, it can plug in and do continuous CPR. So that was my argument before why we needed it in transport. You guys do a lot of long transports. 40% of all cardiac arrest, re-arrest, is that the stat here?
That sounds about right.
And if you're in the back of an ambulance, I don't care how many people you got back there, you can't do, like, we spent a lot of money to make that a safe place for everyone, the patients, caregivers. This just makes it safer from spreading the virus, transporting, performing good CPR. It's on the CARES list as a product for that reason, and gosh, I mean, I think last month I sold like 70 of these things. There's over 35,000 in the world, and the list in Missouri is huge, so it's not an expensive device from a cost per use. The consumable is this suction cup right here that you should switch out every time. And I hate to say it, but that costs like 35 bucks. But that's all. So there's not really a hidden cost to it either. Questions, comments, compliments?
Is there a size limit, like a child or somebody that's very?
They look, anyone that you can perform CPR on, you can use Lucas on, but there's not real, you can do it 330-pound patients, we've got it on, but you're right, there'll be some patients that are too small, and you try to lower this too low, it's not gonna fit everyone. It will alarm, so you can't reach do compressions on a small child, or some really small women it won't fit on, but this is the only device that you can use on traumas, so there's a lot of blood, and you can still use it on it, you can use it on pregnant women, and anyone that fits. But you're right, there are gonna be some folks that are too big, but you'll be surprised, most people carry their girth down here, and this is going over the chest, so. I think it's if you can wear a coat size 52, this will fit you.
Besides just the sheer exhaustion of maybe even you have the luxury of 2 people in the back of an ambulance with a 60-mile or 80-mile transport, what would be the other advantages of having this unit?
Other than performing good quality CPR, but what that looks like now, I bet Eric's done it before, going down the road, going 60 miles an hour, you're not strapped in. I can't tell you how many crashes there are every day in the ambulance. It's a really dangerous place to be, but those medics are hanging on here and trying to perform CPR like that. It happens all the time. And on a transport that's, how far are we from Columbia?
Hour 15, hour 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Is that
Well, yeah, it would also give the paramedic or EMT the advantage of having a couple arms available to perform other issues that you have with a cardiac patient.
right?
Maybe a ventilator, I mean, you're just intubate a patient.
I just did at Kansas City Fire Department, they had this, well, their medic said that when they use it on their codes and put it on, usually there's 12 people there ready to do CPR. What he said is right. it just calms the scene, and you can focus on patient care and what's going on with the patient than, multiple people over the chest. I've been a proponent of Lucas for that reason for a long time, but now with COVID, it's more important than ever.
Looks like it would hurt.
Good CPR should hurt, it cracks ribs, and there was just a save in the Alps. Lucas was on for 9 hours, and the guy walked out 9 hours from the Alps. You are out neurologically intact, and they'll have a big ring right here. It's nasty. They call it the circle of life. Yeah, you'll see that if and when you deploy it. Yeah, but good CPR, I mean, it cracks ribs. It should to get that depth. Yeah, it's.
So what kind of cost is one of these?
14,000 roughly a piece. I have a proposal here. So I put 12 devices, 6 desktop chargers, a power supply that you can plug into the wall. It's in the case, you can plug it, and an extra battery. Each battery lasts 45 minutes, but it's always nice to have a spare battery in case you're not around, you can plug it in. And I put in a pack of suction cups. It includes a maintenance agreement, so every year we come down here and PM it. And that's the same guy that takes care of your monitors and your cots now. So do all the equipment at once. And for 12 units, $197,000.
So let me ask you this. In discussion, in my mind, do we need one of these on every unit? Has there ever been any of these folks that have used, let's say, put them on command vehicles, or would we be missing the opportunity to employ it in that sense and be an economy on it?
Right now, people are putting it on every supervisor and ambulance, but sure, there are folks like Johnson County, I know, just uses it on their supervisor. I talked to Shane on the way down here, he'd like to get more,
Right.
but I don't know, that's a better question for Eric and how he sees it fitting into the service.
Well, he's discussed it, and you don't know when you're gonna end up out there with a patient that can't fly,
Yeah.
or, for some reason is mandated to go by ground, and they're in CPR.
It's better to need and not have than to, have and not need.
Right.
It's better to have it not need than to need and not have it.
If I might jump in on this conversation, Lee Summit Fire, when they first acquired their first Lucas, it was put in a command car. And because of the satisfaction in the department with the use of it, they have expanded that to put that on all of their frontline vehicles, rather than having to wait for a supervisor to get on scene with it. So they started out with it, in a command car, but quickly realized that it was important to have on each frontline vehicle.
And they use CARES funds for that.
Do you know any stats on survivability, like patient outcomes?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. And are these?
There's a handful of studies that are out right now that if you want to nerd out, I can email.
How do they work with other agencies who use them? I know Bothwell just bought 1 or 2 of them. I can't recall if they just bought more.
It goes into cath labs too, and what would be good about this, all the hospitals are on that list. So if and when you want to take your device off, it's really easy to take off. These clips here will release it. And then that hospital can take their unit and clip it on and go into a cath lab, because it's carbon fiber allowed in there. And then you just take their back plate. So
Is that,
any hospital that uses mechanical CPR uses Lucas too, including Bothwell.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is that bottom part radio translucent? Can you shoot
Yeah.
X-rays through it?
Yeah,
Okay, so they can stay on that the whole time?
right.
Okay, that's good.
Well, and that's, it's one reason why they will use it in a cath lab, is because they can change the position of the camera and still do their cath, but still have the Lucas in place if they need it to resuscitate a patient.
And what's the warranty on them before we would?
It comes with a 1-year warranty.
1 year?
And have those been out a long time or?
Yeah, I can't remember the year the first one came out. 10, 15 years. And, yeah, I don't know if I said, there's 35,000 of these deployed across the world. It's by far the most proven platform there is.
And what's the lifespan on them? Normal use, I don't know what that would be.
Service life is what we say, and 7-year service life. There are folks that, keep them longer than that. Service life is, we'll guarantee it works the same way year 7 as it does year 1, and if you pass that, we don't guarantee that, but it's like our power cots, as a medical device, it has to have a service life. And I got constant lows that have been in the field 15 years, so.
Are there any other questions?
Call the question.
Well,
You want to lay down line, we need someone to touch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I get for being the last one here.
Yeah.
If it's okay, I want to throw in one little factoid about those during the pandemic. Sedalia Fire does an amazing job doing first response for us, but their primary role is fire. So at this point in time, they're not responding to COVID positive calls. So the cardiac arrest calls we on that are COVID positive, we don't let anybody who absolutely doesn't have to be on scene be there. So we're doing all the CPR ourselves with just our crews and maybe 1 or 2 other people that we'll bring in. So that's a selling point for these as far as, keeping people safe, keeping as many people off scene as you can.
Which invariably, we're, with the COVID positive patients, it's our folks that are sending most of the rest when 911 calls.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Eric?
You want to leave us with?
If you just leave it over there, I'll grab it.
If not, we'll move on to medical director's report.
Okay. Yeah, just along with what Chief just mentioned, with the fire department not responding to medical calls because of the COVID situation, it is putting our folks at higher risk to do these cardiac resuscitations without this device. But the COVID is just wreaking havoc everywhere. We had our state advisory council for EMS meeting this afternoon, and one of the big topics was the hospital crowding and difficulty finding open beds for patients. And there are a number of patients that are having to be transferred out of their usual service areas. And especially if they're on BiPAP, the ambulances are running out of oxygen before they get to their destination. And it's just, we are literally on the verge of having to function in a crisis management setting. And some of these patients that are being referred out or sent out, transferred out, they're not COVID patients. They're patients that need other, like, a GI bleed or I mean, just other health issues that they don't have room for at their home hospital. And so it's just really creating a bad situation all over the state. And I'm sure you've seen in the news where Kansas City Fire lost, I mean, they had a couple of their firefighters actually die from COVID-related infections. We are in the state, not only ambulance services and fire services, but hospitals are, their personnel are now, they're losing personnel because they have to be sent home because of COVID infection. And so that is also affecting, they may have open beds, but they don't have staff to take care of the folks. They can't put a patient in that bed because they don't have the staff to take care of it. And I think we're going to be talking about this a little bit later, but I know a few weeks ago we had a discussion about getting the PAPR devices for our folks. With the number of, and these would only be used on our transfers out. Most of the time, our contact is short enough if we're going to Bothwell or we're going to Western Missouri. But if we're transferring a patient out of Sedalia, going to Kansas City or Columbia with COVID, we really need to have a reconsideration of obtaining these PAPRs with the CARES funds, because we're losing, even as it is, we're having to send folks home now with COVID infection, and our ability to respond to calls and to staff ambulances it's bordering on critical. So I think we need to, with the Lucas devices, I know there's, and everybody is facing these situations right now because COVID is increasing in its prevalence. But with the Lucas device and with these PAPRs, it's equipment that we really need to help protect our folks. So our folks are holding up well. They're continuing to do the good work that they've always done. But we need to make sure we keep them safe as well. Do you folks have any questions for me?
I do, Doc. I just, in your experience being medical director of numerous ambulance districts across Missouri, can you share with us any experiences of poor insulation from this pandemic with regard to other ambulance services? Is there any horror stories or anything that we need to know about?
Well, some of the other services I'm working with right now, just in the last 2 weeks, they've had a number of cases within their employees that have not, most of them have occurred outside of work. They fortunately, the protection they're using on short, from scene to hospital and that sort of thing, they've been protected. But that's those are just those short transfers, and limited contact. In fact, one of the conversations that came up today at the SAC meeting, the state is not only looking at ICU bed availability, but they're also looking at long-term care beds available to be able to try to move some of these patients out of acute care beds in a hospital, put them in a nursing home setting for convalescent care through the rest of their COVID infection, so that it can open up more hospital beds. I mean, this is really changing the whole picture of how we're caring for people right now. And they're on the edge of looking at what's called alternative care steps, because the things we usually do are being interrupted because of COVID. So I don't know if I answered your question there, Fritz.
Yes, and just, would you have any comment with regard to the recent release from Pettis County Health of a 40% plus positivity rate in Pettis County?
I mean, well, like Chief was mentioning earlier, this is just going to increase the number of patients that we're coming in contact with. Like he said earlier, 1 in 4 of our transfers right now is a positive COVID case. And because of the different ways that people are affected by it, some people, have very mild symptoms. Other people get really sick, and you just don't know who that person that you're, standing close to at the grocery store or at the hardware store or whatever. You don't know if they're shedding virus or not. And it's just really important. I know there's a lot of controversy now about how effective face masks are, but they're better than wearing nothing. It really is going to give you some layer of protection against droplet transformation or transferring from person to person. I don't know how, if the city has increased their mandate for masks or not.
That's my knowledge.
But the more people don't wear them and just are indifferent to the risks, you're going to see that rate, that infection rate increase even higher.
Well, I thank you, Doctor. I was just alarmed by the fact that positivity rate is nearly 8 times what it would be if this thing was actually under control.
Right.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the doctor?
Yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's where we are.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Committee reports, strategic planning committee, which I know it's been really hard to have any activity or committee meetings. So
Yeah,
it's kind of been tabled temporarily.
Yeah, I've received a couple of the questionnaires back, but still waiting on more of them. And we haven't tried to set up a meeting yet just because of the logistics of it right now, so nothing to report.
The CARES Act funds disbursement has been moved down the agenda. So we'll go on to item B, it's resolution 2020-06, annual election for board of directors. And we'll elect one director in District 3 and one in District 6.
Mr. Chairman, is this resolution near the one that we've done every year with minor changes?
Other than the district.
Right, okay. And then the polling places, that's something that we don't have any control over.
No.
Is Nick still using these same ones since that's in our resolution?
As far as we're aware.
Yeah, they haven't told us any different. That is a good question.
I mean,
I can,
would that keep us from being, to go ahead and doing this anyway? I'm just saying that, we're saying that this is where they go vote.
And at this time, we believe it is, and the pandemic might determine in April, might change that if we can.
Well, I just know that Nick has changed polling places over the years.
Right.
And so he might have even at the last election had different ones or something. I don't know that, so.
And this is mostly to get it out there and get it posted so people can file.
Is that necessary to have the polling places on there, or can we just leave that off?
it's been in all the previous resolutions. I could not speak to whether it's actually required or not. And these are somewhat vague. I mean, they don't actually say that buildings in there, like, Dresden, they do it at the church across from the schoolhouse. It just says Dresden, so I don't know if Nick's changed them around enough to alter the actual district location.
Would the chair then accept a motion to accept the resolution subject to maybe the chief or Mrs. Goodring just verifying that these polling places are correct? Okay, I would so move. Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Since we have no new business, are there any announcements? I'll take a motion to go into closed session pursuant of RSMo 610.021, sections 1, 2, and 9.
The public real estate.
In closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, and it'll be roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Buckley is absent. Mr. Fritz?
Present, yes.
Mr. Ruby?
Yes.
Mr. Meehan?
Yes.
And Mr. Nick?
Yes.